Today's video is about the Israel lobby, not to be mistaken with the Plaza Hotel lobby, although both are famous for facilitating iconic scenes of children without parents.
You're too cheeky for a dead kid's joke.
Oh no, come on, you gotta make it cheeky. You rightfully hear a lot about the Israel lobby in the USA because it's an extremely powerful special interest group there. It's obviously a racket. If you're a politician in America and you're not sufficiently pro-Israel, it's a given that you will have well-money campaigns launched against you to remove you from office. In fact, come to think of it, I think the only foreign country with a lobby group that's even the equivalent of that is Burundi? But that makes sense, right? Burundi needs the US in their back pocket. Trust me, they've got some big shit planned. Can't tell you exactly what, but I'll give you a little tip. Keep your eye on the hippo export market. Recently, Republican Congressman and professional Santa hunter Thomas Macy revealed that every Republican House member, apart from him, has individual AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee handlers to ensure that they vote the right way. I mean, Burundi does send out two handlers, so mogged again, Israel? But at least the surface level lobbying of Israel in the USA at this point is pretty well documented. I don't think that I need to do a video on that unless my Burundi handlers want me to do one, in which case I'll jump. But what isn't well documented is the covert lobbying of Israel in the USA. So get ready. You're never gonna believe what I found out. Ever heard of a little place called Comet Ping Pong? And hang on, that's my Burundi guy calling. Yep. Oh. You guys use Comet Ping Pong to harvest adrenochrome and compromise politicians as well. What? Storing hippos in the basement? Look, I'm on here, I'll talk later. Okay, so we're not going to be doing that video. Instead, we're going to do a video on how powerful the Israel lobby is in Australia. By the way that certain politicians try and conjure up the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards in response to 19-year-olds chanting from the river to the sea, you'd think it's very powerful. And it is really powerful, but is it really as powerful as the Israel lobby in the USA? And the answer to that is no, but the USA lobby is powerful, so yes, by extension, yes it is. I told you they run the world. Really, the best source of information on this topic is also why I don't need Letterboxd. It's Australia's former Foreign Minister Bob Carr, who has detailed his direct experience with the lobby as Foreign Minister. And before we get into that, Bob, thanks for all the movie recs. Look at this. He would have made a much better David for At the Movies. I will take this opportunity to return the favour. Bob, I think that you should suss out the new Mean Girls. Much better than the first one, even though it's exactly the same. Fast X? Come on, campaign to get Bob Carr to review Fast X. Let him know on Twitter. I'm sick of reading his positive reviews. I want to start forcing him to watch shit. During his 18 months as Australia's foreign minister, Bob Carr kept a diary and, ooh, sorry Israel, looks like you're in his burn book. Mean Girls, the musical reference, anyone? Look, I'll level with you, I've never seen it, okay? The book published texts between him and then Prime Minister Julia Gillard, in which Gillard was refusing to let Carr vote in line with the overwhelming majority of nations in a dispute between Lebanon and Israel over an oil spill, which was caused by the Israeli Air Force. So, ooh, eco-burn, Fast X reference, anyone? Look, I'll level with you, I also haven't seen that one either. Anyway, another crazy thing in Carr's diary says that Benjamin Netanyahu is a fat whore and a fugly slut. That, and also alleging that Gillard refused to allow him to criticise the Israeli settlements in the West Bank as she didn't want to upset the Australia-Israel Jewish Affairs Council, or AJAC, not to be confused with Ajax, spray and wipe, although I do think AJAC is advocating for a little spray and wipe of Gaza. I've done videos on this before, but it does kind of best explain how the Israeli lobby is powerful in Australia. They're not powerful here because Jews, let alone pro-Israeli Jews, are a huge voting bloc. There's like 100,000 Jews in Australia. There's way over 3 times that in Canterbury Bankstown alone. And I don't see the entire political class beholden to the burgeoning acai bowl food truck industry. Apart from Senator Ralph Bay, but he definitely looks like he's their camp. I mean, acai, fat guy Hawaiian shirts, Clive Palmer, I see he's a man of culture. I know a winner when I see one. The Israel lobby is powerful in Australia because the Israel lobby is powerful in America, and Australia is in America, and America is in Burundi. The Gillard-Carr exchanges encapsulate this. The faction that couped Rudd and installed Gillard was chock full of, how do I say this nicely? people more loyal to the USA than Australia. Gillard only became Prime Minister because she was more willing than Kevin Rudd to subordinate Australian interests to US interests and in turn Israeli interests. And that doesn't mean that it's solely the Israeli lobby behind this shit, but it does mean that if you piss the Israeli lobby off, they have some powerful backers in the US State Department. Now, I have touched on this topic before. You can just look at this leaked US State Department cable appraising whether Gillard would be a good successor, replacement to Rudd a year before the leadership spill. So, when Australian politicians seem apprehensive about pissing off Israel, it's not because they're worried that AIJAC are going to mobilise public opinion against them. Polls show that Australians are very sympathetic to Palestine, and even coalition voters, their views on Israel-Palestine would make AIJAC describe them by invoking scenes from Schindler's List. They have very moderate views. Politicians are not really concerned about the Israel lobby's ability to manipulate public opinion on the topic of Israel in particular, but if you piss off that lobby, they will make appeals to a lot of powerful people in very high places. Now, to use an example from Bob Carr again, this time it's from his career post-politics. Carr was the director of the Australia-China Relationships Institute, and in 2016, perhaps the shittest Labor MP ever, Michael Danby, and now Attorney General Mark Dreyfus, they organised a meeting with businessman Huang Xiaomo, who funded the Australia-China Relationships Institute, and Carr alleges that the purpose of this meeting was to put pressure on Carr to stop criticising Israel settlements in the West Bank. This is a tried and true tactic of the lobby, snitching on people to their bosses, trying to get them fired, usually for saying really mild shit. Recently they did it to a public servant who posted about a bombing in Gaza, screenshotting the post and sending it to Ray Hadley, whose job it was then to cancel the public servant. Come on, Ray, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. You should know better to engage in cancellation campaigns. God, it wouldn't be hard to get you off the air. Not that I want you off the air, but look at what happened to your stablemate Alan when people started snitching to his boss. They do it to doctors. They did it to ABC host Antoinette Lattouf for posting a Human Rights Watch report, which is nuts. The ABC has no issue at all with her writing some played-out airport bargain bin identity politics book about white people. Which, first off, Antoinette, come on, look at yourself. But she's not allowed to post a Human Rights Watch report about starvation. That's so off. If anything, Antoinette should only be allowed to post shit that other people have written. Federal politicians take more sponsored trips to Israel than any other country, and they're beating the closest contenders of China and the US by a country mile. That should be an insane stat, considering Israel has a population of less than 10 million people, and they're only a minor trading partner of Australia. But perhaps they're a minor trading partner of some Australian politicians. Nah, I've got no evidence for that. I haven't really touched on the coalition yet because they're just so dumb that at this point you don't even need lobbying. It'd be like getting a lobby group going to push for kids with this Burgess to buy Lego. With Labor, they actually have to make a concerted effort to control them, and even then, the Albanese government is far too radical for groups like AIJAC, with Foreign Minister Penny Wong's crazy, unhinged, highly anti-Semitic moves such as not condemning the International Criminal Court, casting a vote at the UN for a preliminary measure that recognises Palestine is qualified to join the UN. I'll tell you, Penny Wong, it's not the first time in your life that you've been penny wrong. Now, I am sorry to keep relying on Bob Carr, but he is always nailing it. Birdman is a cult classic. But he also wrote an article for John Menadue after the last federal election detailing the Israel lobby's efforts to undermine Labor in that election, propping up Shari Markson as their preferred journo, who would then savage Albanese for talking about his trips to Ramallah and Gaza, which is pretty hypocritical because she's taken AIJAC-sponsored trips to Israel. I even think she might have been recently, because she really looks like she's hit the Wailing Wall. Carr's main point in the article is summed up at the start with, a key message for the new Prime Minister and Foreign Minister is that no matter what concessions Labor gives the lobby, it will always, in the end, support the coalition. Always. Which is true. Of course Israel is going to side with Dutton. Him and the Murdoch press have just been running the exact lines, doing the meme that they accuse the leftists of all the time. Everyone I need to discredit is like Hitler. The Australians even accused the Greens and Adam Bandt of sharing alarming similarities with Nazis and Hitler. I mean, he does have a German name, granted, but I just can't see Adam wearing a swastika on his shoulder unless it's in that pastel millennial infographic style. Let's amplify Aryan voices. Carr ends the article claiming that the lobby had no electoral impact at the last election, which again, might sound naive, but it's the point I'm trying to hammer in this video. The extent that the Israel lobby can influence public opinion against political parties directly on the topic of Israel is minute. Now, this is in contrast to special interest groups like the Minerals Council and the Business Council, as they can pump out very effective PR campaigns against policies they don't like. The Israel lobby does, however, have a very corrosive impact on democracy in all the ways I just listed. Its tactics are shadowier and in a way more vicious, and they are aided by our lazy, complacent press, and I guess, the number one superpower on Earth. Burundi.